Hey, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back today with a donation deck list. This is Punishing Reclaimer Yorion. A little bit hard to put a name around it, but this is a 3-color deck, green, white, red, that has a little bit of everything when it comes to mid-range decks in Legacy that aren't utilizing blue. So this is a deck that is similar to Maverick, has a good mid-range plan. You could probably say it's close to the green-white Reclaimer decks that we're seeing play. This has a few ways to win. So obviously there's fair beatdown through Elvish Reclaimer or bigger threats like Titania, Primeval Titan, Hazezon, which we'll get to. It also has a Field of the Dead package and a Dark Depths package, and also just Valakut through Dryad of the Elysian Grove. So it has multiple ways to win, which is nice. It's just a case of trying to make sure that if we do find which strategy we want to go for, that we can just focus on that one strategy, because obviously this deck is trying to do a few things, which is nice, but it does mean that it's not doing one thing clearly. But I think this deck has the consistency to get there through any of those avenues. But let's quickly go through the deck list. We have over here a good package of utility lands, Flagstones of Trocare, a really unique land because if it does leave the battlefield, it does replace itself. So if you do sack it to a crop rotation or an Elvish Reclaimer, you actually go up a land, which is nice because you get to search for a plains off the Flagstones of Trocare, which doesn't just have to be a basic plains. It can be a savannah, it can be a plateau, it can be a temple garden, and then you get to get a land off the crop rotation or the Elvish Reclaimer, which is really nice. Also good against any sort of Cataclysm decks. If you're playing against like Death and Taxes and they want to bring in Cataclysm, Flagstone's obviously pretty nice there as well because you do get to go back to 2 lands. Grove of the Burmoil is in here because of the Punishing Fires. Just a really nice way to recur removal with obviously Oko and Dreadhorde gone now. There aren't too many creatures that are bigger than X2s outside of things like Uro, so I think Punishing Fire is actually in an okay place. Probably not as good as it could be, but still pretty reliable to sit on if you are wanting to remove a multitude of threats. Wasteland is really nice, playing 3 here. We can find it off Reclaimer, we can find it off another Reliquary, crop rotation once, and also buy them back with Ramanap, which is really nice. Also Primeval Titan, I guess you could say as well. We then just have, Bojuka Bog, great graveyard hate, especially in a deck with crop rotation, Elvish Reclaimer. You can go for it as early as turn 1 or turn 2. Karakas, pretty good here because you can save some of your threats like Thalia or Titania or Hazezon, but we'll get back to that. Canopy, just in case we want to draw a card. Valakut, obviously really good with Dryad of the Elysian Grove that turns all our lands into every basic type, including mountains. Vesuva, just really good value. The Dark Depth package, a great way to win. Hopefully shouldn't have too much strain on our mana base, but just a really good backdoor way to win. Field of the Dead, obviously really good for the mid-range and control decks, just a really grindy way to win. And Dryad Arbor, a nice way to ramp on turn 1, can play around sack effects as well if we have a fetch land out and something like a big knight, so not too unhappy there. And then just our fetchable lands, so because we are playing Field of the Dead, playing a Temple Garden, and then just breaking our basics up into 2 sets, so Snow Covered and regular. For removal, we have Skyclave Apparition, great for creatures, equipment, planeswalkers, you name it. Just a really nice versatile piece for removal, and also a creature, so it does actually apply pressure as well. Great as well in a Yorion deck because it does have an ETB, so you do get to maybe get double goes at it. Punishing Fire, as I mentioned before, a nice recursive way to remove creatures and also punish planeswalkers. Swords to Plowshares, hands down the best removal spell in the format, so you can't go without 4. Just making sure we get rid of turn 1 mums, early delvers, pyromancers, really anything that comes our way. For Thalia, mainly there for combo. This obviously is a green-white-red deck, so it is a little bit weak to combo. And cards like Thalia, Collector Oof, Gaddock Teeg, and Green Suns to some extent really allow us to make sure we have some game against those decks in game 1. Elvish Reclaimer, really nice, has a lot of synergy in this deck with finding the lands we want, being a threat, just really proactive, especially at ramping. Once we get those flagstone lines going, it can be really impressive with how much this card can accrue. Dryad of the Elysian Grove, again, really solid, allows us to have that Valakut engine going, or just make sure that we can tap some of these lands for for any mana we need based on how our hand goes out. This is kind of the core of the deck, I would say, to actually making sure it all comes together. So Green Suns to find our pretty huge Green Suns package, including Dried Arbor. Sevinne's Reclamation, just another way to gain back some advantage and use the graveyard as a resource. In case, you know, some of our early cards go to the bin from Bolt or Decay or Fatal Push. Crop Rotation, obviously really sweet in this deck with Dark Depths. Also great against opposing Wastelands. Has that upside with Flagstones. Just really nice. Can also just return, you know, a punishing 5 from the bin at instant speed thanks to Grove the Bone Willows in response to a Surgical or Screws activation or Cling to Dust or something like that. Once, pretty good in this deck as well because it does allow us to use both sides of it. This deck is both a creature deck and a lands deck, so we get to utilize the power of Once on both sides, which is really nice. It has a lot of application in this deck. It allows us to dig for removal in Skyclave, which is awesome, or even something like Night of Autumn. So pretty happy to see that. And then 2 Sylvans. I think in a lot of the decks that I play, I usually just go with 2 copies of Sylvan Library because I do want to see it. Obviously, this is an 80 card deck, so we're probably going to see it less based on just classic math. But yeah, a great way to grind without applying creatures to the field, which obviously if you're playing against like a Terminus or Supreme Verdict deck, it's nice to have different angles of kind of advantage. I wouldn't say attack, but ways to make sure you can keep up with your opponent's cards. The Green Suns package, Collector Oof, great against anything from Lotus Petal LED decks to Aetherval decks, equipment decks, just generally a really solid creature that can be lights out in game 1 for some decks like Urza Stompy, or sometimes Ant or Tez, although they can still play the Petal effects to gain an advantage through Storm and go off that way, but usually it's enough to slow them down enough. Scavenging Ooze, probably one of the best Green Suns targets you can have right now. Great against aggressive decks, great against combo decks, and also great against mid-range decks. Just a really nice creature to have in your Green Suns toolbox. Gaddock Teeg, great against control. Cards like Terminus, Supreme Verdict, Jace. If you're worried about engineered explosives, it stops that as well. Force of Will, of course, really strong card. Ramanap, great to use the graveyard as a resource. Make sure we're hitting lands every turn, maybe drawing a card each turn through Canopy, or getting back the Thesmian Sage Dark Depths combo that was wastelanded or had already gone off. It's really good value. It also allows us to have a chump block every turn if we have Dried Arbor, which is cool. Tireless Tracker, again, just another way to form some sort of card advantage. Usually a card I will try to play the same turn I can play a land as well, which can be a little bit rough against Daze decks. It's really a case of where do you see yourself in the game, and do you have the chance to play this around Daze and then get the value later on, or do you have to play it into Daze because you're at a situation where you want to play the land after it and, you know, have to draw into maybe removal that way for something. Night of Autumn, really good Green Sun target for dealing with any artifacts or enchantments that you want to deal with that Collector Oof just turns off. So maybe something like a Batterskull is a pretty good example of Collector Oof does hit it in some ways, but sometimes you just want to get it off the field, and Night does that really nice. Night of the Reliquary, just a super solid creature, especially in a lands deck like this. It can really find any of these, which is fantastic, so Night is really good. Yushan is a really interesting card. I'm not impressed with it. I don't think it does enough in Legacy, but at the same time, I haven't probably given it enough time in playtesting to really have a quality opinion about it. It does stop some things as a 4-drop, so it stops all fetch lands, I believe all wastelands as well, because players can't sacrifice non-land. No, okay. So it does stop fetch lands because that's paying life to sacrifice it. It stops like LEDs and Lotus Petals, Grizzlebrand. I guess the biggest thing that I have is that a lot of the cards that it hits are against decks that are probably going to be killing you with those cards before this even comes down. But I can definitely see it being a nuisance, which is nice against a lot of decks, especially if you can buy some time with cards like Thalia or, you know, Gaddock Teeg or Collector Oof in the early game, and then have this to kind of back it up and apply more pressure. Then I can see that. But I think that if you're wanting this effect, you do need to have an early game strategy against those decks, so that you do have the time to set this up and get it onto the field before your opponent gets to use those sort of effects. Titania, a really strong 5-drop, obviously uses the graveyard as a resource again, great with fetch lands. It can be bolted, which is huge, and it can be Caracas in response to its trigger, so you can't get the 5/3, but I think in this sort of build, it's just, it's too good not to play, not to try out. Primeval Titan, a really good card in this deck. Can find Thespian Sage and Dark Steps, can find double fields, can really go off with Valakut if Dryad's on the table, so prime time really strong. Also just a nice big threat that isn't hit by the graveyard, so if your opponent's playing Rest in Peace, it's just a nice top end threat that is still a 6/6 that grabs you lands. And then Hazezon, I wish I knew how to say it and pronounce it correctly, but I'm going to say it is Hazezon, is a Fonov in this deck. The donator wanted to play this. Obviously, if you want to play something like Clothis, that's a really good Green Suns target that you could have in replacement, but this card looks really fun. It is a 7-drop 2/4 that when it comes into play, in your next upkeep, you get a bunch of 1/1s based on how many lands you have. And then when this card is dealt with, you lose those 1/1s. But what you can do is something like cast this, have an ETB, you get the upkeep trigger, you can then Caracas it to your hand before then, or maybe swords it, or your opponent deals with it, because then once you get the 1/1s, this card is now no longer around, so you don't actually have the ability left there for those 1/1s to be pushed off the table due to this leaving. I could have said that better, but it's a really interesting card, and I guess we'll see if we can get the 7 or 8 mana to Green Suns for it or cast it. To the board, we have Leyline, really good card against graveyard decks right now. I think that it's just one of the best cards you can have against decks like Loam, or even some of the Bug Hogek decks. It's really good. They probably have Force or Assassin's Trophy, but they need to have it before they start going off. So Leyline buys you a lot of time, and sometimes can just win the game on the spot. Deafening Silence, great against the combo decks. Really nice against something like Show and Tell with cards like Pyroblast, because it means we can respond to something like a Show and Tell and we know it can't be countered. Or at least our counter spell can't be countered, which is nice. Carpet of Flowers, really against the blue decks. Great against the soft counter strategies with like Daze and Spell Pierce. Really like Carpet in here. Fiery Justice, just a really nice way to either clean up a board of Young Pyromancer tokens and Young Pyromancer, or Elves, or Goblins, you name it. Force of Vigor, just a great way to get rid of cards like Blood Moon. This deck obviously has a bunch of green cards, so that's not an issue. And with the ramp effects, we can get to 4 mana pretty quickly, so I do like that. And then, of course, we have Yorion. Yorion, a pretty interesting card here. We do have some ETB effects that we can take advantage of, so Titania is an ETB, Yashan, Night of Autumn, also Skyclave Apparition, so that's pretty sweet. It also gives creatures pseudo-vigilance, I believe, because we can attack with everything, then cast this, and then end step they come back. Yeah, so pretty cool. This should be a blast to play. This should be really fun, so I hope to see you guys in game 1. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. Cheers. Hey, back with game 1 on the play, which is really nice. We're going to show Yorion, of course. And this hand is interesting. I definitely don't mind it. It starts with Reclaimer, and then we still have the mana to actually cast everything else. We also get to sack the Wasteland if it's not going to be good to go and get Flagstones. I'm pretty happy to keep this. Also pretty happy just to probably start on Reclaimer, and then turn to, I guess based on what they're on, we'll see what we want to do. Because we might want to play the Valakut tapped, probably want to play the Wasteland to hold up the Reclaimer, but you never know. Alright, opponent mull to 6. Just gonna 6 here. Scalding Tarn. Island. Okay. Ponder. So I could see this being Show and Tell, which is quite nice to have the Night of Autumn in hand for something like hitting Omniscience. They chose to shuffle, which is interesting. So let's take a draw, play the Wasteland, and probably just pass here with Dryad up. Sorry, with Reclaimer up. I could have played the Valakut to make sure we could cast a spell next turn if we don't draw a land, but I'm looking pretty happy to turn this Wasteland into a Flagstones. Another Ponder. So Flagstones brings the land in tapped, and of course Reclaimer brings the land in tapped as well. I feel like seeing this Ponder is taking a little bit longer. They're happy with what they have on top, and they're not looking to shuffle this turn. Yeah. But no land drop. Interesting. Okay. Let's play the Valakut and pass. This could actually be a matchup where Yasharn next turn is really good, because turning off Lotus Petals against both something like Tess or Ant, and then also Show and Tell, is pretty awesome. I think if this was going to be a control deck, there's no way they would have missed the land drop. This has to be a combo deck based on that. There's Ancient Tomb. Simian Spirit Guide. This might just be a hard cast sneak attack. Yeah. Okay. Petal. Alright. Do they have a creature? Looks like they do. Emrakul's pretty good. Can't do much about that. We can get Krakus, but it comes in tapped. I guess we can actually, I don't think it doesn't work the way that I want by getting a second Flagstones here. Is there anything I want to do with the Reclaimer? I don't think there is, unfortunately. I can only assume my opponent does have another creature, but just in case they don't have a creature or a red source, I'm pretty happy to try to play this out. They play Daze. Okay. Two cards on top. Okay. So they obviously have a red source and they're happy with what they found. A land would be fantastic here, because getting this Knight of Autumn down would be perfect. So they have a red source, now they just need a creature. Any creature does it, both Griselbrand and Emrakul. Chose not to shuffle. And just that easy. Tough. This is going to be an interesting one. I do like these types of cards, so let's quickly just make a pile of what I think is pretty good. So I definitely want the blast effects, I probably want the force, and then I want to think about these. So I definitely want 4 cards. I think we can easily take out the Bojuka Bog, the Punishing Fires. The Oof is okay because it does hit Petals at least. Scavenging Ooze can come out. Ramanap, I don't mind. I think Haze is interesting here. I'm going to keep it in because it is kind of the namesake of the deck for the Jonator. And there is a chance where maybe we can live through an Emrakul attack because we have enough X 1/1s to sack to Annihilator. Savines is probably a little bit too slow, unfortunately. I think libraries are fine because we can be pretty aggressive with them. The Swords to Plowshares there are mainly there for Magus out of the board, and maybe even a card like it's from Battle Bond, I believe. It allows you to tap, discard a card. If it's a creature card, you can create a non-token or a token version of it if it's a legendary creature. I can probably also cut down on something like Vesuva. Probably isn't doing too much work here. Skyclave is obviously fantastic. Dryad is okay. I don't mind going down on the Dryad plan, and maybe also on the Sword plan. I think this is okay. This is going to be a tough one. For any sort of fair matchup, Sneak Attack can just sneak you. But we do have some tools post-board, which is nice. I mean, this isn't too bad. Turn 1 Deafening Silence into turn 2 Thalia. I'm happy to keep this. We can just get Blood Mooned with this hand, but that's hopefully okay. Deafening Silence is nice here because it stops things like Lotus Petal into Sneak Attack, or Sneak Attack Lotus Petal, or even if we have the Pyroblasts, we can counter something without having to worry about them counter something back. Pond is going to be okay. We don't have anything great to put in off a Show and Tell yet, but hopefully if they go for an early creature, the Caracas just can get them in a way. They chose not to shuffle. Okay. Reclaimer. I think I like just jamming Thalia here. Just taxing them more on their non-creature spells is better. And they obviously didn't have anything, which is pretty great. It also stops Ancient Tomb into Show and Tell here. One nice thing as well is that Blood Moon's definitely a great card against us out of the board, but Elvish Reclaimer plays around it very well. So I think here I'm happy just to build up my mana with playing Dryad Arbor, and then casting Elvish Reclaimer here. This allows me to hold up Caracas as well. A little bit open here to a card like Pyroclasm, but hopefully that isn't what happens. Sorcerer's Spyglass, that's going to be okay. This does turn off Caracas, but we do have ways to answer Sorcerer's Spyglass in cards like Green Suns for Night of Autumn. We do have a fair amount of stuff. We have seen the Deafening Silence, but we do have some other pretty good cards we could draw into here. Pyroblast would probably be the best. They probably just name Caracas with the Sorcerer's Spyglass. Yeah, Elvish Reclaimer a really nice design. I really like it at sacrifice a land. It's not like a plains or forest like another Reliquary. So it allows you to play around Blood Moon. It allows you to make use of extra Caracas if you're playing more than one in a deck. Just a really nice card design. Tracker could definitely make the cut as well. They named Wasteland. Interesting. Alright. So we could once here, but it turns off the Caracas. I kind of like just holding up the Reclaimer here. So I think we just attack for 2. Green Sun's for 1. Doesn't really do anything here either. I'd rather just try to get that that line going of Reclaimer into Flagstones. We also get to hold up once here, so if they do have Show and Tell, we could try to just once for Night of Autumn, which is pretty hard in an 80 card deck, but I think that's okay. Brainstorm's fine, especially fetch into Brainstorm. That's very interesting. I feel like the Spyglass means that they have Sneak Attack and they want to just get to 5 mana to cast it, and then also have the mana up to actually put something into play as soon as that happens, if not beforehand. They're trying to do something, but they can't because the Deafening Silence. I think I do want to go for Flagstones. I was just trying to think of maybe the Dark Depths package being fast, but I don't think it is right now. Force is really nice. So let's just do the same thing here. Attack with Thalia. And then hold up either Elvish Reclaimer or Once Upon a Time. This here also holds up Caracas for Thalia and Force, or Elvish Reclaimer and Force. So a few ways to do it this time. I feel like we're in an okay position. We do have a pretty slow clock, but I think this is working out just fine. It would be nice to try to get this game without using the Force to not show it, but we might be pushed into doing that. They play Sneak. This is fine. They're tapping out for it as well. So I'm going to force these two. Paying 1. Pitching Titania. Now I don't mind getting Wasteland. Yeah, that is in a pretty tough spot, so thankfully Force there was really nice off the top. Let's look at sideboarding just once more. I could see something like an Extra Swords coming out for a Reclamation, just because getting something back like a Wasteland can be really good. Getting back maybe a creature or a carpet or Sylvan Library that's been forced would be nice as well. Just being able to turn on the graveyard in the mid game is pretty nice, because I'm going to assume that Show and Tell brings in a fair amount, not a fair amount, but some amount of spells to actually deal with our creatures. So cards like maybe Magus the Moon for the lands, maybe something like Kozilek's Return or Pyroclasm. So I think that the game's going to slow down a little bit, so maybe there's room for Reclamation in this. Especially if we can just maybe try to slow them down with Deafening Silences again or Pyroblast effects, then we should be pretty good to go. Let's just submit this. One thing I also have to remember is that Yorion is an option, because sometimes I do forget about it. This is an interesting hand, but sadly I think it's just a little bit too slow. It doesn't have the green mana to cast as turn 1 carpet, and I don't like that. So I think this is going to be a mulligan. I don't want to rely on the top of the deck because there's a lot of draws that I could draw that isn't a green source. Not the greatest, but I'm probably not going to go to a 5 here. The question is a 5 of like 1 blast or maybe a Thalia better than this hand? And I don't think so. I think the Wasteland could really get them, and the Sylvan Library to draw back into this game could be good, so I'm going to keep this. Bottom the Dryad Arbor. See if they go for a basic early on. They did keep 7. Ponder. Chose not to shuffle. Okay. Prime time. Alright, let's go with Fetch Land Pass. Alright. Alright. I guess we put in prime time because at least that means we can go and get Caracas if they just put in a creature here. Okay, that's not too bad. I think here we just get... this is actually an interesting one. I definitely want Caracas. And then we already have a Wasteland. So it might just be a fetch land here. I could also see it being Dark Depths, because if we get Dark Depths, untap, we have 1 mana, 2 mana. So what if we get Thespian Stage here? Sorry, let's get Caracas and Thespian Stage. They come in tapped, comes back to us, they untap. We then have 2 mana up to go and attack. Yeah, I like that. I like Caracas. Thespian Stage. They're going to try to draw out of this right now. The question as well is that maybe I want to actually play the Wasteland next turn to take out the city. But I mean, like, another pedal into... This definitely isn't over. Opponent has to discard. I think Green Suns would actually be a pretty nice draw. Swords, okay. Well, let's start with returning Caracas. Returning Grizzlebrand, sorry. Attacking in. Maybe there's even a world there where Dryad into 2 lands was nearly good enough, but that is only going to be... Definitely Dark Depths. Then it might just be a fetch land. They're at 6. So I think here it's probably better to wasteland my opponent off this 2 mana than it is to hold up Thespian Stage, because they don't have a great way to deal with the Titan anyway. So attacking with the Titan is probably the same as attacking with the Dark Depths. And also next turn we can untap, play Dryad, and then get Valakut and something else. So I think Wasteland here is fine. Opponent also has 8 cards in hand, which is interesting. Why do they have 8? Why don't they have 7? What am I missing? Pond is okay. Really want to see a shuffle here. Doesn't look like it's going to be a shuffle though. Even like show and tell in Omniscience, of course, show and tell in sneak attack with like Emrakul. There's a few ways out of this. Opponent really thinking about this Ponder. So I think next time we untap, see what we draw, but it's most likely play Dryad, attack with Primetime, and then have either 6 through Primetime or 6 through the lands that we drop in Valakut and another land. I guess if we were scared of Emrakul, then last turn instead of the fetch land, I probably should have just got a Flagstones to make sure that if an Emrakul does attack, we do get to get some value out of the Annihilation and, you know, get a land back. So that's really a small error. Dryad, a really cool card. Dryad, another card that I have a lot of time for, especially the people that play it in Legacy. Obviously playing a bit of a Pharaoh strategy, but I do like the versions that play Chalice as well, and then play a bunch of Mox Diamonds, Ancient Tombs, be able to power this out. Really cool card. I always forget that it means that you can tap your lands for any color. That's always something that I kind of forget about when it says lands you control at every basic land type in addition to their other types. Which does mean it's pretty awkward with Choke, so make sure you're not playing Choke if you're playing Dryad. Unless you really think it's somehow a better benefit to you than it is on your opponent. Opponent playing the old school Ponder as well, which is really nice to see. These Time Spiral Remastered cards are really cool. I recently picked up the Ley Lines and Thought Teasers for Maverick, which is nice. I'm still on the fence about the gold ones, so cards like Another Reliquary and Abrupt Decay. I do like Bojuka Bog a lot. I do like Bojuka Bog art a lot. And also Powerless Jailer, pretty cool. Flickwisp, I guess, with you know, Eventide as well. It's kind of tough, but they chose not to shuffle. Okay, that's pretty big. Brainstorm, okay. Ancient Tomb. Red. Snake. So they have to have a creature here. We don't want to do anything in response, that's fine. Spearman Spirit Guide, alright. Grizzle, that's fine. I think we swords this. Just so they can't actually pay life to find anything. And then we should still have them with Dryad. So unless they have Force and blue card here as well. It should be good enough anyway, because we have the Caracas for anything they put in off the sneak attack. So I think this doesn't matter, hopefully. Because even if this gets forced, we take 7, they gain 7. They go up to 10 after forcing. And then we have Caracas open next turn. Dryad, which is nice. Opponent really thinking about this. Good time to drink. They're going to force it. Alright. That happens. They didn't even draw a card. Interesting. So let's go... I do want to play a land first, although it means that the Dryad's a little bit worse, because I want to keep up the Caracas. So let's go land into Dryad. That's going to go. So now we can attack, trigger, yes. Go and get Valakut, and I guess Flagstones? Does it really matter? Could get Wasteland. I don't think it matters here. Valakut triggers. 1, 2, nice. And then damage. Very cool. Nice way to win. That was a really cool one. Especially for the first game. Still a little bit rusty, but we got there, which is really good against a pretty formidable deck. So, very cool. Nice to start 1-0. We'll see you in game 2. Thanks. Hey, welcome back to match 2 with Green, White, Red, Yorion, Reclaimer. Probably a little bit top heavy for me. We do have some interaction early on, which is nice, but I think I do want to find the kind of other half of the deck, so I'm going to mulligan this. Okay. I'm going to keep this and bottom the Dryad Arbor. I think this is okay. Not as, it's a lot more reactive than I'd usually like, but see how this plays out. Especially against a turn 1 Ponder. Probably not the greatest hand for that, but we'll see what happens. Ramming up, alright. Let's go with Windswept Pass. Island, Snow-Covered Island. Interesting. Titania, alright. I'm going to copy the Windswept Heath because it means that we can turn on Skyclave as of next turn, which is kind of nice. Wasteland. Okay. It's pretty good. Still not sure what this is. Flooded Strand is okay. Another basic. Ponder. Wasteland, a lot of basics. Ponders. I'm thinking like mono blue Delver. It's interesting to see the break in Snow-Covered Islands and Islands. Unless that's just a predict play. Dreadnought. Okay. They're going to try to stifle it. I think in response I'm happy here to try to swords it. I could get a plateau that turns on Punishing Fire, return Punishing Fire. I don't mind that. This plays around Force of Negation, plays around Daze, doesn't play around Force. Alright. Well, at least we still have the Skyclave hopefully online next turn if we draw a white source. No. Okay. Well, at least we get to play the Ramanap. Which means we can get back a white source, unless they have Stifle on the fetch. Alright, you got it. Alright, I guess we see if we can fetch here. Start. Okay. I wonder if they have Stifle here. Oh, okay. Nice, that's a win. Okay, now we're somewhere. Now we're somewhere. Morph is fine. I'm not too sure what this is. I probably should know, but I don't. I think I like just trying to get rid of this morph without knowing what it is. Okay. We can get back a land. I don't mind just getting back a Windswept Heath. Fetching now. Get a basic. Just play around like back to basics. No, I got the wrong one. I was supposed to get a white source for Knight, but I think that's okay. We can still go with Dryad here. Stratostancer. Interesting. They're gonna daze that. Okay, that's more than fine. Didn't really care about the Dryad. Probably care about more so getting the Titania online. They're gonna play the Stratostancer, that's fine. Let's return Punishing Fire. Get 2 cards left. I'm gonna see if we can kill this. Okay. Get back a land. Fetch. Plains. I wonder if Thalia is actually better here, because it turns off like Ponder into Dreadnought and Stifle. So I actually don't mind Thalia here. Interestingly enough, this has been a basic heavy match, but Ramanap's been probably MVP so far. Interesting. Opponent just didn't have anything. Alright. We'll take it. We will take it. Deafening Silence is interesting, but it's non-creature spells. They can still cast Stifle. I do like the Pyroblasts. I probably like these. And then what do we want to take out? So this is going to be a mono blue deck. It looks like Wasteland isn't the greatest, so I don't mind trimming on Wastelands. It's probably a back to basics deck, but I can't do too much there. I'm not too sure how good Gaddock Teeg is. It only really stops Force. Probably turning off our own Green Suns is worse, so I'm going to take Teeg out. Savine seems great. Punishing Fire seems okay, but I might trim. Oof can most likely come out. I do want to keep these for as many matches as I can. It might just be a once, especially seeing I'm not actually going for Wasteland early on. That's probably one of the biggest cards that I want to see with once. If I'm trying to like get someone. We also had Yorion. I should have remembered that. I'll definitely keep this hand. This is actually quite nice. Okay. I'm going to once first and see what they do. See if they daze it. They don't. Okay. I don't mind Reclaimer here, because we can go Carpet into Reclaimer. My only other thought is, if they have turn to Dreadnought Stifle, and we get Carpet down, they have to go, they most likely go Island. So we could untap, have 2 mana, and then 2 mana through Carpet, which means we could play Thalia, and then also Source to Plowshares through the Carpet, and it wouldn't be able to be forced due to Thalia's attack. So I actually want to take the Thalia here, which might be a little bit odd because it also means that the Red Elemental Blast isn't turned on yet, but I think we'll find red mana a lot quicker than otherwise, than finding something like Thalia. Daze is fine. We drew the land for Sylvan Library, which is nice, so I don't mind just trying to slam Thalia here. Nothing. I will attack first. If they play True Name, that could be a bit of an issue because we can't hold up Blast here, but we can try to play this library. That's True Name. Okay. Stage is nice. Okay. Well, now we have put on top. I'm happy to pay for this. Play stage. I will Zenith here just for 2 to get a shuffle. I'd rather see some fresh cards than that one on top. Also, just having access to a lot of mana here is pretty nice. I'm gonna 6 because we can't do anything anyway. And next turn we can hopefully, if we find a fetch land, hold up Thespian Stage, Dark Depths, and Elemental Blast in case they have some sort of bounce spell through like Echoing Truth. Stiflenought, a pretty sweet deck. I definitely like seeing it. I reckon there's a Vial version out there that'll be pretty sweet. Put in the Dreadnought, then Stifle it. I've seen it actually in Eldrazi aggro, because you can play Eldrazi Mimic out, and then you can play Dreadnought, have the Eldrazi Mimic trigger, and then just sacrifice the Dreadnought, and you still get a 12/12 for at least a turn, which is very cool. Scroll of Fate. Interesting. They're going to attack. Okay. Dryad. Alright. 2 mana, 2 mana. We don't have red mana yet. I guess we do with the Dryad. That's interesting. Put this on top. Pay for this. Yeah. Put on top. Pay. I still think just holding up Reclaimer is better. But there's a question of, like, do I want to play around Stifle? I actually like Dryad and then hold up. No. This is actually pretty tough. I think it is land. Definitely attacking with Thalia, because it just makes it 2/2. Could also Skyclave this. I don't think I need to. I'm actually pretty happy to somewhat go for this now. I'd rather play around Wasteland as well. And if they have Brazen Borrower, they have Brazen Borrower. The draw in response makes me think that they don't. Or maybe they're just going to do that anyway. Yeah, wow. Interesting. Nice. A nice quick win, which is good. I mean, that's just a really nice showing of how the deck can pivot towards something else. And, you know, True Name is clogging up the board, so let's get a flyer into the air that just wins the game in one swing. So, really nice to get there. We'll see you in Game 3. Hey, welcome back to Game 3 against J Mana. Let's show Yorion. And this hand isn't too bad. It has some nice play against both combo and fair deck, so I'm going to keep this. A little bit different, but hopefully okay. Flooded Strand. Okay, this is probably going to be Espervile. I actually don't mind the fetch here, because it plays around Port, in case this is some sort of blue deck that's playing like a blue-white taxes, but I'm going to assume it's Espervile. But I have seen some Espervile lists not run Mum. It's funny as well, the one card I didn't really want to see with this hand was Mother of Runes. Shit, okay. That's actually quite good for us, because this might make my opponent attack into it with the swords. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna play around Wasteland here and just go for Snow-Covered Plains Pass, and then we can hold up the plateau. This also means we can try to get the Mum by going Punishing Fire, untap Punishing Fire. Oh, I wonder if they run Aven Mind Sensor. That would be big. Hopefully not. Okay. Taiga. Pun. Alright. Still nothing. I'm going to play Plateau. I'm going to play around Days, just in case that card is in this deck. I'm going to assume it's not, but this is still fine. Nice. I guess my opponent could have, like, end-step Flash Creature for the Jit. Well, it looks like they do. Click. Interesting. It's pretty good. Probably just leave it. I don't think you're scared of any of these cards. You probably just don't want me drawing removal. I think the Once is probably the closest, because Once can find Grove for Punishing Fire, but obviously Jide also just turns off the Punishing Fires by pumping the creature that I target. We do also have Caracas as an out. We can Caracas a click, which is kind of nice. Not the greatest play, but it is something. Green Suns. Okay. Actually, Green Suns for Night of Autumn here is pretty good. Just to get rid of that Jide once and for all. Make sure we get the right one. I could get Oof here, but I think there's just probably like Swords to Plowshares and other removal that gets rid of it that I just don't want to play around. This is fine. Funnily enough, if I did have a red mana open, I could return Punishing Fire there, because my opponent definitely uses at least one of the counters to gain life. But a nice small win there. Wasteland's not the worst here. We have all our colors online, which is nice. It does take me off the Titania next turn, but I guess it also takes me off like once into Tracker. They're just going to pass with 4 mana up. Maybe Venser. Vent is definitely a card I could see coming down. I will quickly get these cards off my friend. And now we go back into this game. So Vents is pretty tough because I can't really beat it with the Caracas out as well. I don't mind once first. See what we hit. Grove is fantastic. Now I'm just going to pass with Grove up and Punishing Fire. This kind of time walks my opponent as well if they did have Venser. They do have the Wasteland, but I think that's okay. They're probably thinking, do I Wasteland the Grove here? Opponent having a good think. This is interesting. They're trying to force me to use the Grove. Why? What could my opponent have? I think I'm happy just taking the bait here and seeing what they have. Interesting. Maybe they have another click that they want to cast? No. Okay. Interesting. If you're in chat, let me know what you think they were trying to do there. Maybe they have something else they want to play to get down and then waste on the Grove to not get it back, but I'm not too sure. Alright, come on, land. Nice. See if my opponent responds to this. They do. Probably for Venser. Yep. Alright. Pretty good if they have the 4th land here as well, because they can hold up Karakas and Venser. Field's pretty nice. Let's try to bait with Tracker. They're going to cast the Venser. And then just cast the Oof because it can't be hit by Karakas, which is nice. Oof not doing a whole lot here anyway. And this does just bounce, it doesn't return. It doesn't counter, so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Play Oof. There is a point to actually holding up stage for Karakas to just keep the Venser off as well, but see what happens here. Venser Karakas full mana. Pretty cool. Obviously seen in, I know Joe Larsett used to be a big fan of Legend Miracles. Surely they don't attack. I'm definitely blocking. There's no way I'm not blocking this. There's also the consideration to always just hold up red, or at least be aware that if they do gain life, I do trigger the Punishing Fire. They are going to. Didn't see this happening. Okay, that's fine. But now they don't have open, unless they have a land as well. Karakas Venser. So they're gonna try to do something else. Sword. Okay. Perfect. Land, trigger. And then pretty happy to just fetch now as well. Just gonna get snow covered basic swords. That's fine. Still get a 2/2 here. Oh, actually, I should have copied it with the, yeah, I should have copied it with the Thespian stage first to get more, but I still think this is okay. Get to crack this clue. Play Teeg. Which is hit by the Caracas, but I think that's okay. Just make use of my mana. Hopefully this game can just go wide with our field. The nice thing about Thespian stage there as well is that it creates 2 to play around Wasteland off the top. So that's a pretty big misplay. And just something that I need to know playing this deck, and it's something you're going to find out playing reps. So this is fine. Yeah, no great attacks. We do get to find Punishing Fire here with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so let's go. Titania. Trigger. Get back Grove. My opponent should Caracas it here, because then I don't get the, I guess I won't get a 5-3 anyway, but if I was going to get something else, like a, like a fetch land, they should respond to the Titania's trigger with returning it, and then once the fetch land comes back, I don't have the chance to actually create a 5-3. Kill the mum. Nice, yeah. Just a really tough time for my opponent with field. Really strong card. So, Force, Fiery Justice, Gaddock Teeg out, the Thalias are out. I don't mind these. That's 82. Carpets are interesting. Blast effects are also interesting. I probably don't need both, but I do like 1 and 1 in case my opponent is playing Meddling Mage. And it might just be Cutting Bog. I think this is fine. Have a pretty combo heavy sideboard, but I think this is okay. Seems like a really interesting matchup. I don't believe it's going to be Espervile. It looks like blue-white Taxes, which is kind of Death and Taxes splashing blue for some hate cards like Venser, Click, most likely Meddling Mage, maybe Lavinia in the board. Some pretty cool options. Force really nice against both Stoneforge Mystic and Equipment, and also something like Aether Vial. And also Rest in Peace if they're playing Rest in Peace. Really like Force of Vigor. I think the Forces are a great cycle of cards. Not too oppressive, but just really nice for some of the decks that they fit in. Yeah. Not much more to say there. Also Yorion, I always forget about it. This is a sweet hand, I'll definitely keep this. Okay. Blast, okay. I'm gonna go Taiga into Reclaimer. Obviously Waste Swords, like Wasteland here as well with swords, and like Mum as well would be pretty brutal, but that's just Magic sometimes. No Mum, that's pretty nice. I don't want a 6 here just to show that I might have Swords to Plowshares. This now is probably a case of me wanting to wasteland the Tundra. Especially seeing they did nothing, I want to try to make sure I don't just get Flickwisp out of this game. The wasteland not doing a whole lot for me. I really just want to make sure that I can get this oof down next turn. Opponent has 5 cards. Just the plains. Okay. Okay. This can definitely happen. Violent 3 and upkeep. Interesting. Click. Okay. Maybe there was some greed for going for the Taiga, but I thought it was fine. If my opponent has both Swords and Wasteland, then they have Swords and Wasteland. If they don't, it's a pretty huge upside also having the Flagstones for Elvish Reclaimer. Opponent keeping that at 3. I wish Forkbolt had a split second. That'd be cool. Especially for situations like this. I guess that wouldn't work because Forkbolt is a sorcery speed spell, but still. Okay. Guess we just discard Punishing Fire because we can get it back. They're going to do something here. True Name. Okay. Interesting that they showed us True Name. Could also just be Fiery Justice now. I think this game goes to show how much you really need to hit your land drops in this deck. Especially playing 34, you do want to make sure that you have probably a hand of at least 3. Palace Jailer? Okay. I'm just going to Swords Mum here and then pass. This allows us to untrap, draw land, and hopefully Punishing Fire the Mum. But this deck doesn't have a way to get rid of True Name once it's in play, which can be tough. Alright. one of those games. Do we want to change sideboarding? I don't think I do. I think carpet's still pretty strong. Everything seems pretty good. I'll just run this back. Maybe the extra Pyroblast over something else. Maybe... Just so I up my chances of having it when they maybe cast a True Name if I can attack a Aether Vial pretty early on. Okay, doesn't matter. We'll show this. This hand is probably okay. I'll keep it. Hopefully find a 1-mana spell with the once. Like an Elvish Reclaimer, and then we can fetch for Taiga to get it. We'll just go for a basic as well. Didn't want to play that first. I should have just onced first. Yeah. Let's just go for snow-covered. I'm going to go for plateau because then we have a source in hand. A red source in hand. So this is why I probably would have liked to have led it on the plains, because then we can hold up swords turn 1, but then also have basic forest off this. This means if they cast a turn 1 mum, I kind of have to swords it next turn if I want to play my basics right. Okay, that actually works out pretty well. Forest. Wasteland's fine here. Stoneforge, that's fine. Especially seeing we have the Knight of Autumn for any equipment. I'm going to play a land, because it does force the... them to have another land if they want to hold up Stoneforge here as well. This is fine. Swords, not the worst. Oh, this is actually interesting because my opponent didn't fetch, so we can swords the Stoneforge in response to the fetch to stop the Batterskull from coming down. Let's just make red mana, play Canopy, but use a white to sack the Canopy. Dryad's cool. Pretty happy to play that and then just hold up sword on the Dryad, on the Stoneforge. This is nice because now they can't put in the Batterskull, which is a pretty huge play, and we get to save the Knight of Autumn for something else now. But we have a lot of mana, we just need to start drawing into things we can actually start doing. Green Sun's for Ramanap would be kind of cool. Oh, Savine's Reclamation? Interesting. I'm not going to use it this turn. I'm going to attack first with the Dryad. See if they do anything. Yes. All right, let's make red mana. Let's cast Savine's targeting Canopy. Spellquill is okay. In that case, I might just keep the land in hand. In case we draw into like Tiles Tracker. They're going to attack. Interesting. I could see Questing Beast in this deck as well. Just seems quite nice. Gets around True Name as well. They could just fetch here and play Batterskull, but we have the Knight, which is nice. I kind of hope they do that, but you never know. Jitte. Interesting, they're playing that out. They played it post-combat. I don't understand that. Obviously holding up something. Maybe another Queller? Temple Garden. Not good enough. Now they're going to fetch, probably with Vendilion Click. Does give us a free draw, I guess, because they will bottom this Knight of Autumn. I assume they bottom the Knight and take over the game with Jitte. Yeah, and just a land. Definitely a tough situation. Opponent has 5 in the air each turn, and the Jitte means it could be a go to 12, still a 3-turn clock. But yeah, this can definitely be the downside of playing a deck without Ponder or Brainstorm. Sylvan Library can help for blue deck, for green decks, to actually make sure you can find the right half of your deck. But variance is still a great reason why Magic is as great as it is. Wasteland's fine. Probably keep this for Caracas. Okay, that's definitely a start. The question is, what does it target? It probably targets the wreck, and we try to get Canopy back to draw a card. But I could also see it taking out the Jide. But then they get a 2/2 as well. Doesn't really matter. I think the line is to take the Jide, but just to like try something out, I'm gonna go for the Spell Queller and try to take out the get the Reclamation back and get some get the Canopy back. So let's go for red again. Play Skyclave. Another Queller. Yeah, that's just game. Rough. Definitely had a really nice start, but just yeah, didn't really get into, didn't really get to do anything with that mana. But that can definitely help. That can definitely happen. Hopefully bounce back in the next one. We'll see you in game 4. Cheers. Hey, welcome back to Dukes on Switch. Back with game 4 against LMK NAO. With an interesting hand. Turn 2 Thalia, but other than that, it doesn't really do a whole lot. I think this hand is a bit of a trap not having a green source, so I'm just going to mulligan it and hopefully find a hand that I can just cast some early spells and generate some board advantage in the early game. Haven't played Haze yet, but we'll get there. We'll hopefully get there. Cool artwork as well. Okay, this is actually a nice hand. I'll keep this. Keep and probably bottom the Night of Autumn, because we have the Green Suns in case we really need it. Ancient Tomb. Or hopefully not just Chalice for 1. Okay. You got me. Oh, okay, this is just going to be Urza Stompy. Interesting. I think in that case it's just Verdant Pass. Interesting, nothing to do with 4 mana up. Can we get to Collector Oof? I would love to get to Collector Oof here. Oh, they draw something. Probably Hull Breacher. Okay. Well, we do actually have Punishing Fire here, but I think I'll untap and see what happens. LED, sure. Surely the last card is an Echo. It is Echo. Taiga. Still really bad, but Taiga Savannah. Yeah. Don't find a Green Suns, but we do find a Sword and a Skyclave, which are relevant. This is pretty good. Khan's pretty awesome as well. Another Echo? Rough. Okay. Well, we found things. Just one turn too slow. On the play it would have been great to have the Green Suns, but definitely concede a Charles for 2. This is going to be an interesting one. I definitely like the blast effects, the deafening silences, the force. I don't know about the ley lines, but they're interesting. I might have them in a maybe pile. Track is a bit too slow. Prime time's a bit too slow. Titania is too slow. Yashan's actually pretty good. Dryad I am going to trim on. Thalia is still okay. Maybe it's not the ley lines. Maybe it's like one ley. I guess we can't cast a ley line if we draw it, which is tough, so. I do like crop into bog as well. I think that's good enough. Ooze is fine. Ramanup's probably overkill. Savines is probably overkill. It might just be like a Vesuva. I think this is fine. Tough. Have some good sideboard cards, which is nice. And some good interaction in like Teeg and Oof. Would love to play first. Yes, we'll show Yorion. Interesting hand, but I don't think it does enough. Just a bit too slow on mana as well. This doesn't do a whole lot either. It does allow us to go like turn 1 Green Suns and then turn 2 Thalia and Wasteland, but that's about it. Doesn't get too much better. Well, it does, but I don't really want to mulligan once more. Probably just drop a Wasteland and see if Dryad can help us out, especially finding red mana. Alright. This also turns on Green Sun's next turn for Collector Oof, which is nice. Okay. Probably happy just to Wasteland first here. Nice. Getting Thalia down there is pretty big. Seat is more than fine. Pyroblast, interesting. I think I'm happy holding up Pyroblast here, then playing the Dryad, but I actually like... what do I want here? Probably a plateau. Oh, we have the flagstone, so I'm just going to get a Taiga. Play Dryad. And then we also play the flagstones if we want here. Attack for 2. Another seat. Pretty slow from our opponent, which is nice for us. It's definitely the start we need. I'm going to draw here with the flagstones. They found the Pyroblast, that's fine. Crop. Okay, that's even better. Attack with all. I don't have to sack the Windswept Heath either for mana, which is really nice, so they can't like respond to the fetch by doing something that the Pyroblast doesn't get around. This is fine. I probably want to get rid of it here just in case of something. They are tapped out, so they can't actually counter it, which is nice. They don't know about the crop either. Oh, actually, maybe we can do this because of Valakut. Sai is gonna be fine because in response we can crop away the flagstones. Go and get Temple Garden, no, and then go and get Caracas. Nice. Alright. Do I want to change anything on the draw? I don't think I do. I probably still want the Deafening Silences and the Pyroblast, so I'm just going to send this back. There's some thought to the Savines, but I think this is okay. Hopefully have like a Force, a Pyroblast, or a Deafening Silence in our opener. We don't. I think this is just a little bit too slow. Still pretty slow, but is it better than a 5? They kept 6. I'm gonna mulligan once more. There we go. We don't have red mana or green mana, but I am gonna keep this and bottom the Yashan and the Punishing Fire, and just hope we draw a fetch land which holds up both of these. Turn 1 Emery's pretty good. Double Echo and Bin. Wow. Double LED. Nuts. Don't think we're beating this. Yeah, especially with this hand. Rough. Unfortunately, that's just what you get for playing a non-force deck. Even, like, Force of Vigor is my only free card, and that wouldn't have done anything there. So pretty tough. Field pass is pretty bad. Yeah, we'll play it out, but this is not looking too good. And a Psy, okay, there we go. Way too good. Yeah, unfortunately not much to say there, but maybe there's a consensus for more Force of Vigors. It's just tough because maybe Fairy Macabre would have been okay, or bringing in ley lines. Maybe there's a case for ley lines on the draw because of their explosive starts, but definitely, yeah, some good things to learn on. But hopefully game 5 we can bring this back. Cheers. Hey, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back with Yorion green, white, red for game 5. This is going to be an interesting one. This is definitely not a hand I want to keep with just a plane, so I will mulligan this. This isn't fantastic either, but I will keep it and probably just bottom the bog. And just go Wasteland pass. I don't want to show the Savannah yet, because if it just gets Wastelanded, then that's pretty bad. So hopefully here we can go Wasteland into Savannah into Sylvan Library. Fetch and response. Trop, okay. This could be Rug. Feels like a Daze. Spell Pierce, okay. I'm pretty happy with that. The reasoning for Sylvan Library over Ooze is that I just need to dig for lands, because this is definitely a matchup that I could lose pretty easily to just not drawing extra mana here. I don't mind playing Oof here. I don't think it does anything, but it at least makes my opponent have to deal with it. And it is fodder for the Ooze down the line. I also want to play it around Cyphals somewhat, but if I do, I want to play this Wasteland in their turn. Bolt is probably okay. The question is, what do I care about? Something like a Goyf is pretty bad here, so I actually might just go after their Trop. If they have Stifle, they have Stifle. Also keeps them off Hooting Mandrills, which is a pretty big card. Brainstorm. Rug is going to be a tough one. Wasteland. Okay. They hit my Wasteland. That's really interesting. I would have liked to have seen them go after my other source, but maybe they'll just Wasteland us out here. Delve is okay. No land. Green Suns. Alright, we can hope. No flip. Interesting. Boom Bust main deck. Oh, sorry, Dead Gone main deck. Interesting. Maybe a little bit aggressive with my Wasteland, but if I'm keeping them off a big creature right here, I'm pretty happy about it. Preordain. One top, one bottom. Definitely feels like a Hooting Mandrels here. Yeah. We have a few turns to draw. The best being land into Swords to Plowshares. But it's definitely not all over yet. Yeah, okay. Rogue Delver. Blast effects and carpets are pretty strong. Also Fiery Justice. I don't like Teeg, Collector Oof, Knight of Autumn. I don't mind the crops. I do like the Ooze, Tracker, Ramanap. A lot of good cards here. I'm not a big fan of these two, just a bit too heavy. This is 81. I think just for this matchup I will take out the Haze, just a bit too big unfortunately. I'm pretty happy about this. No white mana, which is pretty rough. Sorry, no green mana. Okay, I'll keep this. Probably bottom the Skyclave for now, just because we have these two. I'm going to lead on the carpet as well. Getting that down's pretty huge. This is fine. Hex, that's okay. Flagstones is nice. Just gonna add red. Play Flagstones. Swords this. They do nothing. My point there was that if they have Force of Will, we can then Pyroblast the Force. Brainstorm here most likely looking for a removal spell for the Elvish Reclaimer. Like a Bolt. A Dead Gorn does it here as well. Yeah, not great. I guess we can copy the Volk. But now we're pretty open to like a Trinium Nemesis, which is pretty tough. Really any sort of threat outside of Delver. There's probably some thought to just holding off on the Hex for one more turn because we have the Pyroblast for a removal spell. But yeah, this hand looking pretty tough. There's some thought against Bolt decks to play the Reclaimer when I can, as like a 5/3, but sorry, as a 3/4 to play around Bolt. But I don't think we have the luxury against Rug. If you just wait off too long, it just doesn't really do enough. to start.
Clothis is also a pretty strong one, so any 3-drop that Rug can play is really good against this deck. We're not playing Council's Judgment, which might be a card that could be played in the sideboard, because Skyclave is good. I guess Skyclave does deal with Clothis. This feels like a Hooting Angels. Okay. 4-turn clock. Alright, I'll take it. Definitely not the position that I want to be in, but pretty funny to hit all three of the 4 swords already. Even something like Sylvan Library off the top would be really nice. Another Hoot is just nice as well. It's going to be Preordain, which I guess can find Hooting Mantles as well. 2 for 5, 6 off the top. What's it going to be? Nothing. Okay. That's pretty nice. Pretty happy just to counter this, especially while I can. They're gonna try to force this now? Okay. That's huge. That is huge. And they must have drawn the bolt, because there's no way they fight over that without having the bolt in hand. Okay, that's pretty good. Interesting. I think here with 1 card in hand, I think I want to go for Ramanap, but I could also go for a 4-drop. Tireless Track is interesting. I think it is Ramanap just to get some value from the yard. Start playing my lands again as well. Let's play for Sovereign Copy Volk. That turns on red mana anytime I want, which is nice. Feels like a bounce effect. Okay. It's okay. Carpet pretty much pays for it, which is nice. Interesting. Wow. Huh. That was a very aggressive concession. Okay. Do I want to change anything? I don't think I do. I think I'm pretty happy with this. Hitting mana is obviously the biggest thing against Rogue, so I think this deck is good enough to do that. Especially
you know, forest into Reclaimer and then Flagstones. That's probably the start that I really want, with some sort of removal in my opening hand. But being able to play Reclaimer as a 3/4 and have the patience for that is also pretty good. So if I could get a setup where I could play the Reclaimers late in the game or in the mid to late game, that'd be pretty awesome. This is I am going to keep... This is a rough... It's not a great hand, but I'm going to keep it because the double swords. And the Flagstones can't be hit by Wasteland either. It's just one fetch away from being really good. Opponent down to 6 as well. We did see Spell Pierce, which is interesting. I'm not sure if that means that I should play swords into Force Negation on my turn, then play into removal on their side. I'll play into Spell Pierce on theirs when they're untapped. 1/1. Nice. Okay. I could have played this around days, actually. I could have just played the Flagstones this turn. It's not going to matter, which is nice. Wasteland is okay. If they play Goyf here, we get to swords it with Thalia protection, which is nice. Yeah, actually no we don't, because of the trap. Yes, we'll make white mana. Swords this. Flagstones. Thalia. A counterspell here isn't bad either because we have the second one. Also just a Thalia going to the bin is nice for Scavenging Ooze. They're actually going to force this. Okay. That's more than fine, especially seeing we have the second Thalia. Brainstorm's okay. Don't fetch. Interesting. Once. Okay. Could once here. Let's go for white. Let's play once. Probably just happy with the planes here. Play the second Thalia. Opponent doesn't have Bolt. It's pretty big. Now we see a fetch. This is most likely True Name or Clothis. Looks like Clothis. It is Clothis. Okay. Skyclave would just be brilliant here, but you can't always get what you want. Green Suns is pretty good as well. Get a Green Suns for a fair amount here. They also only have 2 cards in hand. Play a land. Could just try to get Ooze here because that also stops the Clothis. We can Green Suns for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can Green Suns for 4 if we really wanted to. I think it is just going for Ooze. So let's go like this. Green Suns using 1, 2, and then so make sure this is correct. So we have 2 mana floating. To get Ooze, we need to get 4 in the pool. So we should only have 1 green floating. So that's actually a little bit... there we go. X is currently 2. Go get Skoos. First up, we'll eat Thalia. Go to attacks. And now Skoos can control Clothis, which is nice, unless they have a removal spell. Opponent maybe has Submerged and is thinking about Submerge, but seeing that my opponent's playing Dead Gone and also Brazen Borrower, I would think they wouldn't be playing Submerge. Unless they're really making a go-wide strategy happen, but doesn't happen. So we go 3-2 overall, which isn't too bad. I think some of those games were just, you know, playing an Eddie card deck, those things can happen. But overall, pretty happy with how the deck performed. Had some good game against Show and Tell, and obviously Rug there, just playing a lot of pressure is really nice. And the carpets were actually MVP. I was a big fan of the carpets in those blue games. I'm not too sure what I would change. I think obviously Haze is pretty cool. We didn't get to a stage where we could cast it. Apologies. But yeah, I think like Clothis in this deck would be really nice. It's just another way to pressure opponents and make sure you can hit your mana every turn. I could think of maybe putting something like a Council's Judgment in the board for cards like True Name, and just other pesky effects. Maybe over the Fiery Justice as just another piece of removal, because Fiery is really nice as a way to make sure that decks can't go too wide, and really punish decks like Goblins or Elves, or maybe even be able to take out a Planeswalker. But I think that Punishing Fire does enough in this deck, and you have enough ways to find Grove as well, that it's not really necessary. But really interesting, really cool deck. It's nice to be able to play a Yorion deck again, because I haven't played one in a little while, so hopefully those games are okay. Obviously it's my first time with the deck, but hopefully I gave enough insight to make this worthy. If you guys like this content, definitely consider subscribing. My name is Dukes on Twitch. I stream twice a week, usually on Thursday evenings at 7:30 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time, and Sunday mornings at 10:30 AM Australian Eastern Standard Time. And then also do YouTube exclusive content once a week. So yeah, let me know your feedback. Say something in comments. Maybe your favorite play, maybe a play that I missed that I could have made that would have been better. But yeah, a huge thank you again for the donation deck list, Jacob. This was really fun to play. So cheers, we'll see you next time. Thanks.